And it feels like the Reverend Richard Coles has done it all. It really does, from pop star to broadcasting vicar, and not forgetting that cha-cha-cha on Strictly Come Dancing. He's laughing. More recently, he's been able to add best-selling author to his CV with his latest mystery novel out tomorrow.
Hello.
And you join us here on the sofa. It's so lovely to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
What do you want to talk about first?
Well, book, I guess.
Shall we talk about the book? OK. Now, this is the third in a series, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. The Canon Clement mystery series, book 3, set in a little village in Middle England at the end of the 1980s. Rector in his parish, big house with a grand family at one end, parishioners at the other end. All tranquil, all calm, and then all of a sudden, a body turns up. And by now, even in book 3, I think Champton St Mary has got the same rate of mortality as Midsummer. So this book, I've actually moved the murder off-site, and it happens in a monastery where my character, Daniel Clement, the rector, has gone to lick his wounds after a bruising event in his personal life.
Do you know, I think so many people think about retiring to the countryside for the peace and calm, but you mentioned Midsummer there. There seem to be so many murders in these lovely little leafy backwaters. Why did you decide to set yours in a similar... I mean, obviously there's the religious connection.
Well, also, I was a vicar of a parish very like that, actually. And I've also been in other parishes, in towns and cities and so on. And life is lived everywhere. And the idea that somehow you can escape to the country and find peace and tranquility, well, of course, people are getting up to the stuff that people get up to there just as much as they are anywhere else. Same with monasteries. I think people think monasteries are a refuge from the realities of life. But actually, they're a laboratory for the realities of life. I lived in one for 2 years. And so the book is partly a reflection on what you find when you enter the cloister.
What is it like living in a monastery?
It's intense, actually. You're sort of locked up 24/7 with people you wouldn't necessarily choose to be with. After 2 days, you feel murderous because of someone's sniff or the way they eat their toast. And you have to kind of work out a way of living, I think. I mean, when I went there...
How did you end up... Why?
Well, I trained for the priesthood in an Anglican theological college, which is attached to a monastery, a Community of the Resurrection at Yorkshire. And I think I entered it thinking it would all be serene and lovely. And I remember the monk in charge said to me, if there was ever a murder here, there would be 40 suspects. So that was a useful heads up.
I think you're changing everyone's ideas of village life and also monastery life as well. What was the parish like that you worked in? You talked about the fact that it's, you know, not the quiet solace that you might expect. And obviously, it's given you great inspiration for novels. Well,
it was wonderful. I was very fortunate. I was vicar of Findon in Northamptonshire, which is a kind of big village, small town, 4,500 people.
Hotbed of murder?
Well, funnily enough, when I went there, I was in central London before, and a friend of mine, when he found out I was going to a little country parish, the first thing he said is, "What did the bishop catch you doing?" But that wasn't the reason. I wanted to specifically go to this parish. It's near where I grew up. And in the first week, we actually had a murder. So, you know, things happen. And if you're a vicar, you tend to kind of find it comes your way. So I was dealing with the effects of that. I mean, it was a wonderful parish. I absolutely loved it. I still do, actually. And I had a fantastic time there, best job I've ever had. And the reason is, I think, you just connect with people in all aspects of their life, and you become part of their story. You baptise the kids, you marry the parents, usually in that order, you bury the grandparents, and before long you've actually been woven into the story of a community. And that's very rich, actually, for someone who's writing fiction.
But you've stepped back from that now.
I retired in 2022, and I now live in another little village in a different part of England. And I spent the first 6 months realising that if you walk around all day going hello to people, if you're wearing a dog collar, it's fine. If you're not wearing a dog collar, they tend to call the police. So I had to kind of dial down my vicarness a bit.
Do you think you're naturally inquisitive
about nosy.
People? I didn't want to use the word nosy.
Well, I will happily use it. I'm nosy. Lots of clergy are, I think, because your job is to get stuck into the life of a community. It's also a bit like being a detective, because when communities malfunction, you have to try to work out what's happened. So you become a detective, really, with the job. I like the way you segued nicely into Murder at the Monastery there. Very good, very good. What else do you do? Just take us through. You're obviously writing the books, podcasting. Yes, podcast. I do the Rabbit Hole Detectives. In fact, we're recording one this afternoon, which is a history podcast. It's me and Kat Jarman, who's a Norwegian archaeologist, and Charles Spencer, the historian. And we each take a historical topic, and then we try to explain it as thoroughly as we can to the other two, going down as many rabbit holes as we can. So I've got bagpipes and pet food, I think, today. Sorry, what are you going to do? Bagpipes and pet food, not at the same time. Not at history of bag. Oh no, it's not. It's soap. History of bagpipes. History of soap.
History of soap. Okay, I was going to link nicely into, you sent us some lovely pictures of you with your lovely dogs.
My companions,
Your companions, but you're not going to talk about dog food. But again, dogs is something, a thread. That's very sweet. Who is that?
What could be more Church of England than that? A vicar cuddling a dachshund. Oh, and there's me with my two. Me looking rather hefty there in that jumper, I have to say. So that's Daisy on the left and Pongo on the right, who've been my companions now for 15 years.
Aww.
And we are, well, I sit at home, I write, and they kind of stumble around the kitchen because they've both gone a bit blind and deaf now. Oh,
I know you've talked about the fact that it's not sort of necessarily quiet village life, but it sounds quite nice.
It's lovely. I'm very, very fortunate. And, well, not only are dogs great companions, but they're a useful tool if you're a vicar, because they can repel people when you want them repelled and attract people when you want to attract, although dachshunds are not always consistent in their angle of approach to people. One of them tried to bite the bishop once, which was unfortunate.
How does that go down with the bishop?
Well, not so well.
Is that why you got dispatched elsewhere?
No. I'm afraid it would take more than a sort of yapping dachshund to get you defrocked. He also had a go at, I think he also bit the man from Christian Aid once, so that's a bit unfortunate.
I think you're maybe revealing a little bit more than is wise.
Yes, okay.
about your pooches.
Yes, change tack.
Yeah, okay. So it's Murder at the Monastery. It's out tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's the third book. Do you still get nervous? I mean, it's your 10th, do you say 10th book altogether? Do you still get nervous the day before publication about how it's going to be received? Yes,
there's this terrifying moment. I love writing the books, and then you sort of send it off, and then it's sent off to get typeset, and then you sort of let go of it, really.
Yeah.
And there's this quite nervous moment between letting go of it and it kind of emerging in the world and seeing what people do. It's a bit like, I think, sending your kid off to school for the first day, and you hope they'll come back and have made friends in the classroom. But the previous ones have done very well, so I'm hoping we'll build on that success.
Well, it's lovely of you to come in and talk to us about it this morning. It really is. Murder at the Monastery. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Murder at the Monastery is out tomorrow.